This is Nick Stern speaking to you from my study at the London School of Economics. I'm sorry I can't be with you on this important occasion of the publication of the Global Climate Leadership Review of the Climate Institute. The key message from this review is important and clear. A great competitive margin in the world over these coming years is going to be over carbon and energy productivity. Countries that slip behind in relation to energy and carbon productivity are going to damage themselves and their competitiveness and prosperity in the coming years. That is a crystal clear message and one of great importance. If we go into the story in more detail, it goes roughly like this. We are currently as a world on a trajectory of emissions and thus climate change, which looks as if it's taking us over the next century or so to temperature increases of 3, 4, 5 degrees centigrade with quite a high probability. That is enormously dangerous. We haven't been at 5 degrees centigrade above the 19th century levels, which is the usual benchmark, for 30 million years. We've been around as Homo sapiens for perhaps 250,000. We haven't been 3 degrees above the middle of the 19th century for around 3 million years. And 3 million years ago, the sea levels were roughly 20 meters above what we see today. On just 2 meters increase, probably 200 million people would be likely to be displaced by inundation. And that's not counting the desertification and the extreme weather events which could move people from other regions. So that is an extremely dangerous, or would be if we let it happen, an extremely dangerous state of affairs. Of course, by acting sensibly and strongly, we can radically reduce those risks. We can radically reduce the risks which from inaction would likely to see hundreds of millions, perhaps billions of people moving, and extended and severe conflict. And the reasons for that conflict would not go away. So those are the stakes. We reduce the risks drastically by reducing emissions. We have to, in most countries of the world and in most sectors, get emissions down to something close to zero where we can over the next 40 or 50 years. That does mean in power and transport and most parts of industry. There'll be a few areas, perhaps some parts of agriculture, where it won't be so easy to get them down to close to zero. That means where we can, we have to get more or less to zero over the next 40 or 50 years. The good news is that we can do it, and the good news is that this is an energy and industrial revolution full of innovation, investment, growth, discovery. If we look back over past waves of great technological change, industrial revolution in textiles at the end of the 18th century, steam and railways, middle of the 19th century, and so on, up to information communication technology in our current age, we see they're associated with 2 or 3 decades or more of innovation, investment and growth. And the investment flows to those countries which are on the vanguard of that great wave of technological change. So this is an enormous opportunity, one that could, as well as reducing the risk of climate change, will make us more energy secure, cleaner, quieter, safer, more biodiverse and so on. It's a very attractive path. But it does involve investment and it does involve change. So that's the story. Now, the countries which do not seize that opportunity, who are not at the vanguard of this story, risk lagging behind on the discovery and the innovation. They risk something more too, because countries that are making these radical changes because they believe them to be right and because they see the opportunities that are there, will likely invoke border adjustment mechanisms to stop dirty imports coming into their country and they'd be justified in terms of economic theory and indeed in terms of ethics to do that. So it's not simply that you'll miss out on the technologies, you'll likely find barriers to your exports if you are a country that chooses not to play its part in this story of change. Although the world is moving much too slowly and needs to accelerate, that story of competition and change has already begun. And this new report, or the updating of the Climate Competitiveness Index associated with this new report, is very revealing. You see that the report now takes us up to 2010, and you see that China, through its reorientation and its new strategic priorities and their implementation, is already jumping up this index. Third place now, China, in the G20 after France and Japan. The centre of gravity of this story is moving away from Europe. Some parts of the United States, even though the United States is not ranked anywhere near the top, some parts of the United States are changing radically to California, New York, many other parts as well. This story of competition has begun. Australia is currently, in the sense of the 2010 numbers of this new report, ranked quite low, actually 17 out of the G20. But Australia's new initiatives, Australia's new clean growth initiatives, are likely to take it up that index, likely to make it more competitive on this vital dimension of energy and carbon productivity. That will be good news for Australia and good news for the world. We should thank the Climate Institute for this very important publication. It highlights in a very clear and strong way the way in which this competitiveness process works. It's likely to accelerate, and those who understand it better in the world are going to compete better and be more prosperous. So thank you to the Climate Institute for producing this work. It's of vital importance, and I'm very happy to participate in this small way in the launch today. Thank you very much.